boys.
Coach, I guess just there was that play there in the third inning on Tuesday where Vance and Angel collided. And obviously they both stayed in there. But I guess just first off, I mean, how are both of those guys? And then also, how much would you say communication is kind of factored into some of, maybe some of the misplays there have been so far early in the season?
Yeah, I don't think any of them much have been communication. That was a tough play that they're both going as hard as they can. And they probably both caught it at the last minute and it was too late. Luckily, it wasn't bad. It looked bad. I thought it was going to be bad when I was jogging out there, but they both just got the wind knocked out of them. Vance popped up and said it felt like he was just hit playing option quarterback. So, you work hard on it. You do fly ball communication all the time. And there's that unique play where you just hold your breath when you have two guys like that can run, that can both get to the ball. And luckily, they didn't hit anything above the neck.
Tuesday, that's probably about as well pitched a midweek game as I can recall by both teams in quite a bit. Just kind of what were kind of the big takeaways you took
Yeah.
from being, second road game as well?
Well, we need to score to win on the road where we haven't scored a run. So, that would help towards that cause. But we had 9 hits. They had 4. It's just baseball. That's what makes it such a great game. The first inning, Vance probably doesn't get thrown out. We probably scratch 1, maybe 2. And then you have to give them credit. They threw the ball well. They made big pitches in big situations. And we had first and second again in the 9th. And their closer made some good pitches. There's some really good changeups to Hunter and Reamer. So, this is a team. I told our coaches they're it's not a team really to get mad at. They're too on board with everything and too much of a team and a tough team. So you just, you could have easily won that game 2-1, could have won it 3-1, but we lost it 1-0, and you move on.
Obviously, we've seen Shadden pitch twice this week between the Sunday start and then come in relief on Tuesday. Just kind of, we didn't get to talk to you on Sunday. Just kind of, what were your takeaways from what you saw from him across both outings?
Yeah, we've been thinking about anytime you start a season, you're always thinking ahead to what do you think it's going to take from either lineup, pitching staff, bullpen, starters, for us to have a shot to win a championship. And we've constantly discussed, if we could get our staff to where Peavy was in our bullpen, it could be one of the better bullpens we've had. He's a lot like Mott as far as his athleticism. He's going to throw harder. He doesn't have 3 pitches, but he's got 2. And if you look at Shadden's history, or Shadon, he is really good those first 2 innings. And most of the time from a reliever, that's what you're looking for. But you also need that guy like a Mott, like a PV, if he is in the bullpen, that could go longer if they're going well. So with Bovair throwing better and better and better, and he's definitely more of a starter, type guy. We would rather use him as a starter than a reliever. We just felt like that was the time, since we got him out early on Sunday, get him in the game on Tuesday, see how he looks come out of the bullpen, get him used to it, get Bovair a start, put him on a pitch count in case we decide to start him on Sunday. And that's what we've decided to do. So I'm glad it worked out like it did. I'm glad he was able to get that time out of the bullpen, even though he's already had it. I think his stuff is going to play up even more. I know against Coastal, he came out throwing, fairly hard from what I heard, 94, 95. But I think that's going to be the same out of the bullpen, maybe more. And I think his slider is going to be a little more consistent because he's not going to try to pace himself. But he's so athletic and he recovers so well. We just feel like with adding him to the bullpen, it gives us can put even more pressure on the opponent.
So, Coach, it's not Shad, it's Shadon?
I think so. I don't know. I mean, y'all record me, so don't put it on, but I should know that. Guys call them both. So I'll ask them today.
All
I'll
right.
say, tell me exactly what it is. I call him Peavy.
call him Jake.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach, just taking a look ahead to this series against Pittsburgh. I mean, traditionally, Carolina and Pitt seem like they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, but this has been a short competitive series. Is there any reason why you think things have been so competitive between these two programs?
I think Mike Bell does a great job. I think Pitt's a school that if you're from up there in that area, that you have a lot of interest in going to and staying in the state. And there's a lot of tough kids that we've gotten in that area or around that area to leave the state. But I think they're doing a better job of getting those kids in there, and they're taking advantage of the transfer portal, it seems like, a little bit. And, you know, it's always been tough for us up there for sure. Their series, they're good. They have a good team. They're older, maybe one of the oldest teams in our league. They return a lot of guys from a team that was on the brink of getting into a regional. So I thought from the get-go they would have a good team, and I think they do have a good team.
When you talk about recruiting that area, I mean, recently it's been guys like Datras and Olio, and I think AJ Bogucki was from up there. Can you recall in your career going up there and the first group of guys that you were able to pull out and bring back to Carolina?
You know, we saw Datras playing in the summer. Way back though, when I was at Winthrop, a kid right from Pittsburgh named Kevin Slowey ended up being a heck of a pitcher for us and being a big leaguer. So I got familiar with the area, and we still try to hit around that area the best we can. But those are the main ones. KD's obviously the guy that really sticks out, and then now we have Connor Olio, who is one of our leaders, and he's an awesome kid to have on our team.
Coach, we talked a little bit about Mac last week, you know, after he had the walk-off and everything, but taking a closer look at his numbers, you know, he's actually walking at a much higher rate than we saw last year, already up to 11 after having 15 last season. Is that kind of something you look at as an indication of, like, I mean, not that you're, again, as you said, you have no reason to really worry about Mac, but when you look at that, it's like, okay, like at least he's kind of seeing those pitches and like maybe, you know, it's going to come here eventually.
Yeah, that's how I see it. I think he's really close, you know, and the thing about it is your lineup just going to vary based on kind of exactly how guys are going. We might drop him down a little bit and really that would not be because of him not tearing it up, more just to distribute righties and lefties, to try to make the opposing pitcher a little more uncomfortable so they can't go right. You know, all my years as a pitching coach, if I looked at the lineup and had a right-hander with a really good slider or breaking ball and there were 5 or 6 righties in a row, I felt like I could get some comfort there. Now with Stokely coming along, Will Stewart starting to play better, Holbrook being an option, Reamer being an option, you know, I feel like we can mix and match a little bit more, and that might help Matt get going as well. But he is getting on base. He can steal bases. You know, what happens is when you're not hitting like you expect to be hitting, you start trying to hit everything. So we've just encouraged Matt, like, control the zone. You still have to take your walks, that your hits will start coming. Because if you really break down his season, he's got a lot of flyouts, and most of his flyouts are just on balls. You know, he's swinging at pitches that he, instead of having, what does he have, 11 walks? Maybe he probably have 16. And it's easier to take that walk when you're hitting 350. But when you're hitting 200, you're trying to get to 300. You shouldn't be, but that's what these kids do. So, but he's more mature and he knows. Been working in the cages a lot with Coach Weirs, and you know, he's a lot like Ike Freeman. He's not a natural born hitter. He didn't roll out of bed being able to hit. He's having to work himself into becoming a better hitter.
You mentioned there the kind of stolen base aspect of what he brings. We've seen the speed, kind of the increased speed on his part, definitely a few times earlier this season, especially I think it was Saturday when he scored from first on that double by Osuna. It seems like that's a play he doesn't score on last year. Just, I mean, how much strides have you seen from him in that area?
Yeah, he's a pretty stiff player when he got here. Big, thick, stiff. He's gotten more. Coach Gass done a good job. You know, a lot of stretching, a lot of yoga. Always been fast, but now he's got better baseball speed, learning when to steal, when not to steal. You know, he's probably, as far as pure speed goes, right there with Holbrook. You know, both are a little bit behind Vance, but that's, you know, I mean, Vance has that elite speed that not many people have. So, but Mac, that's been another tool for him, which is great for him because even though he plays third base, if we ever need to throw him in the outfield, we could, because he's so athletic. So he's got a bunch of spots he could play.
kind of on a more general note, obviously, with everything that's been happening at the major league level this past month or so, it seems like there's just a lot more eyes on college baseball. Just, I guess, in a sense, like, I mean, how cool is that? And how is that something you've kind of also picked on maybe a little bit?
Yeah, I hate it because I hate it for our guys that are close to being major leaguers or are major leaguers. And if you love baseball, do I love the fact that we're getting attention? Of course, but I miss having spring training game on behind me right now. And that's just the way it should be. So I'm hoping that speaking of Andrew Miller and Kevin Slowey, two guys are on the front lines trying to help get that taken care of. So hopefully they will.
Coach, just another question about your starters. It seems like early on in the season, you try to work them up from 65, 70 pitches. Are we getting close to a point where you feel like you can let them loose for as long as they can go throughout the course of the year?
Yeah, I think so. We're still only in that third weekend, and it feels like it's the 12th sometimes, when you play those 5 games, just from my standpoint. But I remember I'm not 18 and 22. It doesn't feel like it to them. They're still easing their way into it. Once you start getting into April, Dave, honestly, that's, to me, is when you really start kind of letting the reins loose. You look at a guy like Schaefer that can handle a lot of innings. Would we let him go 100? Yeah, of course, but it depends on how he gets there. When you get into April, it doesn't really matter how you get there. You can handle it because you got 6 days rest. But, at the end of the day with baseball, it's great to start great. It's great to win games, but you also know that you have so many games left. You don't want to look back and be like, yeah, we won that game at a cost. So with our bullpen, we'll let them go, but they're going to have to be pitching really, really well when we have the options that we have.